Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA44 and it's Monday, May 11th. Today I'm going to talk about this is the new norm. Is this the new norm? Which it's starting to look like it, right? It's starting to look like the new norm because if you listen to the Americans, you listen to the Canadians, you listen to the globe, you listen to everyone, there's a lot of things being lifted, a lot of things being pulled back, there's a lot more restrictions here, a lot of policies that are going to be kept in place. So, and I'm gonna go into something words here like indicative. Something I heard this weekend. The reason why I do the EFA is equality for all is I'm looking for balance. Looking for balance, like a lot of individuals out there are looking for balance because. And I'm speaking to everyone. I'm speaking to the grassroots. I'm speaking to the government. I'm speaking to everyone here. Is this what you want? Because you've seen the protests, you're seeing the marches, you're starting to see more and more gatherings. You're starting to see a lot of things. You're starting to see a lot of loosening up of things, but not enough loosening up. Last weekend, and I've seen this before. For example, in our province, I seen this list of time and dates, and I was going to share it. But again, you got to check everything now. You really got to check everything. And I started going into this Ontario document. It said Ontario, here's the release dates, et cetera, which was shared on some business sites, which was shared with intellectual individuals that I'm very, very close with, and back and forth. And a few people shared this, and a few websites shared this, and a few business sites shared this. Then I started researching it. They don't even have it. The Ontario province, even as of like late, they still didn't have those release dates. And I'm looking at that. I started researching it. It was dates from Ireland, an Ireland document that they took and they modified to look like Ontario. And this is why this information out there, right? Which is beefing up this new norm of protests and this and that and et cetera. And there's a lot of frustration. And that's why I said last weekend, let them open. Like if we can open the Costco's, if we can open the Loblaws, if we can open the Walmarts, if we can open all the big box stores, if we can open all the giants, and all these people are walking through all this stuff, you can open businesses. Okay, so and what's frustrating about this is the people that are making financial decisions on people's financial lives are those that are not being financially affected financially. That just resounded, didn't it? Seriously, the people that are making all the financial decisions, shutting down all these businesses, shutting down all this stuff, et cetera, and all these measurement procedures and all these rules and regulations, all these timelines and extensions of timelines and all that, are people that their payroll is not affected. So when I look at that and I look at everything right now going on and these false information out there, come on, people, like please research it, right? I'm guilty of it too. We're all guilty of it. We share something, you don't research it because you got to research freaking everything now. Literally, you got to research everything. You look at yourself in the mirror. Are you like really? That's how bad it's getting, right? On researching. But I want to get back to the word indicative. And I'm going to talk about indicative because is this a new norm, right? Because I find it very sad right now what's going on. And I look at the word definition. Definition of indicative, and I'm going to get to this, is being a sign that something exists, is true, or it probably happened. That's what it talks about, right? That's indicative. It's true or it probably happened, or it's a sign of something coming, right? That's what it's talking about. And I was listening to this podcast and this past weekend, and it's the first time I heard of this podcast. It was out in 2017. It was Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan talking in 2017. And I look at where we are today, and it was very indicative of that conversation. When I listened to that conversation, it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Great episode. I believe it's 993. And in that episode, he talked about the word indicative. He used that terminology in there. And I look at when he was talking about that conversation and talking about traffic in Mexico and et cetera, and I remember traveling the world, and I've driven to some crazy places. And I wouldn't mention names, but we have driven everywhere. Like me and my wife and daughters, like in the vehicle, have driven in places, and we talk about respecting of street lights and street signals and red lights and et cetera, rules and regulation, basic rules and regulation. And I remember this one city I drove through, like honestly, I have patience like I'm nerves of steel. I was thinking for a while there, like, wow. Why did I get myself into this situation? That's how bad the driving was. Bad driving. And I've done this in different places in the world where they don't respect any turn lights. They don't respect any stop sign. They don't respect a red light. They don't. They just go right through. And it doesn't matter if you see a flying moped and bodies in the ditch. They'll still go right through. And there's no respect for that. We got slammed on our last vacation, family vacation we did, not this one, the previous one. 2 Christmas ago, we got rammed into, like slammed into, and tons of people around, and the car just took off, just took off. And like pitch black at night, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't get the plate in that, but it just took off. That happens everywhere. I agree. But it was in an area where there's constant crazy driving and crazy this and crazy that. And it's just mind boggling. How do you live like that, right? And then the word indicative, and they talked about being indicative. And I look at where we are today, and I look at a lot of those countries. If they can't even respect a street light, if they can't even respect a stop sign, if they can't even respect anything, and the conversation was about they don't respect the other stuff, correct? If you can't respect your government, if you can't respect the governance of the country, if you can't respect the democratic process, if you can't respect your politicians, which a lot of them we don't respect for obvious reasons, and if we lose all that, then this is where the fabric starts falling apart. And this is where I speak to all of you, from government to private industry to grassroots to boots on the ground to everyone. Is this what you want? Is this what you want to lead to, right? Incrementation, right? Incrementation, things didn't happen like just like that. A lot of this stuff came from incrementation, allowing. I've talked about this in previous EFAs, empowering the morons. We've empowered the morons. We've given voices to everyone. You start going granular into a conversation with individuals and start presenting facts, it falls apart. Literally falls. They start yelling. That's what they do. They just start yelling. They get louder and louder and louder, and they scream with the same words repetitively all the time. You can't go into substance with them, or you can't present them with facts. Don't present them with facts, right? It shoots down everything that they're standing for, so they don't want to listen to that. So is that the world we want to lead ourselves into? You know, because when you listen to the definition of it, indicative, and you look at those countries that they have zero respect for stop signs, zero respect for stoplight, the basics of driving, right? The basic, and if you have society, and if you look at their societies, they tend to not be some of the most civil, some of the most democratic, some of the most safe, and et cetera, right? They tend not to be. And then, is that what you want in your democratic societies? Is that what you want in your U.S.? Is that what you want in your Canada? Is that what you want in your European nations, your Europes, your like everywhere, right? Your South Americas, and I know there's countries on this planet, and I know there's cities on this planet, there's everything that is not a good place to be, right? But those that already have worked this hard, like for like 100 years of work here of putting a democratic society together and establishing, and you're going to let it go? You're going to let it go by putting all these rules and regulations that don't make sense? And everybody has their own rules and regulation. It's the same virus, isn't it? Right? It's affecting different areas differently, but in similar pockets of certain areas, right? So if everybody put the same focus on those areas collectively, right, we should have a uniform message. Right? You should be able to have a uniform message if you collectively share it together in your medical groups, and then have the message shared across, right? There's bodies out there. I know we pay for them. There's a lot of organization. There's a lot of places out there that we all suck our money up into that could answer a lot of these questions uniformly. Like one answer for everything, one process for everything. Like we're dealing with the same virus. Right, we're all the same human beings. I don't care if you're from this planet or that planet or this side of the earth or that side of the earth. We're all the same human beings, right, on this planet. And I look at that, it's the same virus. And yes, it is affecting the elderly differently. Yes, it is affecting the obese differently. Yes, it is affecting those with underlying conditions differently. Yes, it is affecting the poor areas differently. But they're still in categories, and each one of those categories belong in each country. Each country has those categories, and then we can put our data together for each one of those categories and address each one of those categories. Just like everybody likes signs, and I've talked about this before. Everybody needs a sign now, so get everybody a sign. You're in that box. You're in that box. You're in that box. So the rest of the world can continue working, continue to be productive. We can keep the stimulating the economy. We can stay productive. You know what I mean? Keep the balls rolling. Keep the machine moving. And it's not about not taking life into consideration. We could approach things systematically, but those that are healthy, those that are working every day, remember, the essential services, a lot of companies out there, a lot of human beings have never stopped working from day one. We've been intermingling from day one. I've said this on previous EFAs. So if we have been intermingling from day one, and we're all here, all of us, we're all still the same people, right? The same people. We're all still moving around and doing the exact same thing every day, right? If we can do it, the world can do it. Correct? Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA44.